3, 2, 1.
Got him.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Decent Human Podcast. I'm Evan.
This is Jenny, and I'm Chris.
What was funny is that since I was looking at the camera and I heard this is Jenny, I thought you were talking about yourself in like a weird third person, like, this is Jenny. Like, we've apparently assumed different identities on the Decent Human Podcast.
Oh,
I just
man.
noticed that every intro has its like own issue. I don't think we'll ever get it
No.
We'll
figured
never nail it.
We should never nail it.
out.
No. Well, you're here to make sure that doesn't happen. I think we could have done it by now, but now is, yeah. That's why you're here. To keep us
It's been
on
a
our
long
toes.
week. I feel like it's been a long week for
It
everybody.
has been a long week,
Yeah.
hasn't it?
Maybe, maybe not. Have
It's a
you
long
had a
week.
long week?
I've had a long week, man.
You just wrapped up. What'd you wrap up?
I wrapped up Wells Fargo.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you. So we had a big shoot with Wells Fargo.
You were assisting the job or what?
I was. Yes, I was. You know how before offline we were like, "Oh, Evan, can I come to a shoot with you and everything?" And you want to be there. This is why you will 100% never be on set with me as an assistant of helping. But yeah, you know, it's been a long week, but I gotta say, you know, I'm super grateful to be like having these opportunities come around and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it did get me thinking in terms of like getting these jobs, getting hired. And my life has totally like changed in how I view it and how I go about it because of my transition from, you know, going from the corporate 9-to-5 world over to being a freelancer and then owning my own business, and how I go about getting hired is very different. And then I don't know if you've experienced it differently in your world. And then Jenny, I know like you've talked briefly about it with your getting hired, and you've gone about it in a very, I would say, not traditional way, right?
I mean, I guess I didn't intend to go about it that way. Like I went on the interviews, but in a place like LA, and I think that can go for anywhere, you have to remember that your relationships can take you very far, and they can also, if you burn those bridges, they can cut you down. So maintain your relationships, because you never know who or how you're going to get opportunities.
Yeah.
My dad always used to tell me that the guy that's like bagging your groceries someday could be your boss. You just don't know. So
That's true.
treat everyone kindly, and like just be nice to everyone, because you don't know who you're gonna see in the future.
Yeah.
But even more than that, like working in LA, everyone that I worked with at one job or encountered at one job kind of pushed me to the next point in my career. So
Yeah, so building that network. And I totally relate to what you were saying about the person bagging your groceries could one day be your job. Because I remember when I was on one of my first gigs, it was for T-Mobile. It was out in Florida. I was a PA. I had no reason to be there. I just happened to know the producer at the time. And he was like, come along, like, just have fun. And during that shoot is my first real introduction to like having to be the gopher, you know, like go get the coffee, go, you know, pick up something downstairs. That was my job. And I remember kind of being irritated because I didn't know what I was signing up for. But then the director of photography on that said to me, and he like pulled me aside. His name was Juan. He was like, Evan, you know why I'm never mean to a PA? And I was like, why? He's like, he could be my director one day. And that stuck with me. And, you know, 7 years later, like I remember hitting him up for a shoot that was going to happen in Florida that I was directing. Now, we didn't end up going out to Florida, but it was like one of those full circle moments of, I do remember him saying that to me. And it's so true. It's like, same idea. Don't burn the bridges. Treat everybody with respect. You never know where they're going to be. And you should want to lift people up. And they're also going to lift you up at the same time.
yeah.
Right?
I think it's really about relationships here.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. Being in LA, it is about relationships. And you never know when it's going to come full circle.
Yeah. Well, with you, I feel like it's a little bit different because in terms of getting jobs, getting brand deals, like how is that different than, let's say, you know, Jenny's doing it through network, right? She makes those relationships outside of the job that brings her to the next job.
Well, we could take it even further back.
Yeah.
The reason one of my good friends here, Colin. You guys know?
I don't think I know.
You know Colin, but
Colin
Colin is the
Allen?
reason I'm even in.
I see
the
his face
entertainment
all over
space.
Target.
He's- yeah.
I see him in the airport.
he's
I see
literally-
him freaking
Yeah.
everywhere.
Wait, are you serious?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Who's calling?
no, like he's a model. So like
Oh.
I see his picture, not
And
like him.
actor,
I'm like,
yeah.
hey, in Target, hey, Colin. No, he's just like he has like his Target card.
He's like the
Oh.
he's like the token guy that's like on every billboard
Okay.
everywhere. That,
good looking dude.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. But honestly, he didn't know me and he got me in the space. He helped me without even like ever meeting me.
Oh, you and Colin didn't know each other?
We didn't know each other until I actually moved to LA, and then we actually like connected. And I had so much just gratitude for him just because he helped me out like with the agents and managers and whatnot, like not even knowing.
Thanks, Jenny. I didn't want to do it.
I could still hear him, so I didn't notice it.
So yeah.
You don't have to take it off the table. You just hold it on the
It's kinda-
table.
I thought
it's
we were
where
doing the
he's-
Mick Jagger.
He likes to be back here.
I know, just yeah, right there. I'm gonna put like a leash around you, so it's like keeps your head from staying right here.
Next episode, I'm just gonna hire somebody to stand up.
She's gonna have a helmet with a mic at the end.
Somebody's gonna be behind this tree right here.
But so Colin helped
But
you
yeah,
out.
no, Colin helped me out without even knowing me and whatnot. And so like from there, I built relationships being here. But yeah, it goes to show like,
But like, all right, let's say, I don't know if you've ever done this. Have you seen a brand that you've wanted to work with, and then have you gone after that brand to try and work with them? Like, have you taken steps to go and try and work with them?
so like if I were to see a brand that I wanted to work with, I would look them up and look up the PR company that they work with. Because more times than not, if you go to the brand directly, but like I will say you could also direct message the brands on Instagram and then they'll direct you
Yeah.
to the right person.
Yeah.
I come in on the brand side from that. I'm usually the one looped in, or I was before we went into NFTs, the one looped in to handle the talent and book them for jobs for
Yeah.
the brand.
So when you would get a direct, because in my experience as a freelance creator, just sending a DM with no following, with nothing, I have a good body of work, but do you take those DMs seriously
It
on the brand side?
depends. If you have no following, but you have good photos and good content, sure. Because micro influencers just have, in my opinion, as much impact as a massive influencer in the fact that massive influencers, we all know that they pay for engagement, most of them, or buy followers,
Well,
a
they're
lot
on
of them.
pods and it's all bullshit.
Yeah, it's all BS. The micro influencers have well, okay, we're not talking about you.
You
We're
no,
not
no,
talking
no, not
about
at all.
you. But the micro influencers, their followers are real and engaged. There's no BS on that level. So the ones seeing their content are the ones that are like actually going to listen to their advice.
Yeah.
So it depends on what the brand wants. Do they want like an army of micro influencers, which is I think valuable, or do they want 1 to 2 or 3 massive influencers that's going to shell out a ton of money for? But the micro influencers, if you do good content, whether you have 200 followers to 2,000 followers, it's still a very small number, but the brand can take your photos and repurpose that for content themselves, which saves them photo shoot money.
True.
Which is in the end way more expensive. So you shouldn't be afraid to reach out to a brand if you have no following, because that you might not get paid right away. Do a couple posts for them, do content for them for like a little bit, and then work out a deal so that you can move into a longer term goal.
So a couple questions on that. So you're an advocate of it's okay to do some work on spec. So for free, basically, to build a relationship.
Not always. It depends on if you're a micro influencer, if you're someone with no following. I hate saying that. But
I know, but let's say
Like
a
less than
micro
5K or
influencer,
something,
less than 10K. Yeah.
yes, if you are someone with less than 10K, yes, because by stats or by like all the stat wise, you are going to get technically less views.
Sure.
And that is what the rates are based on. So if you're going to come at a brand and be like, I want, X amount of money for your 1,000 followers, a brand's going to be like, no, F off.
Yeah.
Just because that's just how it is. If you come at them and say, I will do X amount of posts, I'll give you content for this month, and then let's reevaluate, the brand's going to probably find your value once they are able to keep using your content that
Yeah.
you're shelling out. So
And we could take that back even a step further. The type of content that you would like to, or let's just say like there's a client that you want to work with, right?
Yep.
Also look at the type of content that they post or that they produce, because if you're in alignment
Do your
with
homework.
that,
Yeah.
do your homework, because if you're in alignment with that, you're more likely to work with that brand in the first place.
you have to also remember brands are constantly hiring models for photo shoots. So look at the kind of photo shoots they're doing and do your own shoot and then be like, I can do this for you on my own. Just pay me this much. And like the brand then doesn't have to go produce their own photo shoot and they don't have to hire a model. You're doing it for them and you're getting a check.
Yeah. Would you say that works better with larger brands, smaller brands, medium brands? Just, I'm trying to like get a good understanding since you have so much experience on the brand side, and I know you worked with a ton of brands. It's like, who are these? If we're talking to the wees out there, taking it back, the
Wees. Can we
wees,
bring
we
the
forgot
wees
about the wees, the wees out there that are the micro influencers, that are creators that want to get started in this and they want to start working with brands, you know, or should they be aiming to the Starbuckses, to the big brands, or should they be going after kind of these small to medium sizes to see if they can add value?
I personally think that there's a lot of up and coming brands that tailor their audiences towards, like they tailor their content towards Instagram, towards TikTok, right? And so like, it doesn't have to be a big brand. It could be a small to medium sized brand that tailors their content towards those mediums.
Yeah.
And then you go from there.
I think it just depends. The smaller brands are going to be more willing to work with more budget-friendly talent. That said, they're going to have much smaller budgets. There are also huge brands that I've worked with that are cheap as fuck
Oh yeah.
and won't shell out money. And you're like, I know you have it.
Yeah.
It really just depends case by case. You can't really peg it, but you can just, I would advise to reach out to everyone.
Yeah.
But I think the big thing is if you have a niche, hit every brand in your niche. If you're like a mommy influencer, hit every brand in, because they're, especially mommy influencers, because that was kind of my specialty when I was,
Yeah.
there are so many brands in that genre that are shelling out tons of cash for content. Because that doesn't just include mommies. That's like lifestyle, that's home, like anything that includes in like a family lifestyle.
Yeah. CPG brands.
Yeah.
The Targets, the
Yeah.
Walmarts, all the Home Goods, like those are big. I mean, that's where, if you want to actually have a full-time salary, those are the brands you want to target.
Yeah.
That's who's going to pay the most.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
here's a big question that I get asked, but I want to hear from you guys, is that when you're reaching out to brands, especially you, Jenny, since you did get those DMs to work with certain brands or work with your brand, what kind of DMs or messages actually spark your attention? Because like I'll get DMs and I'll have people that are just like, "Hey, hire me." I'm like, I don't know you. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna hire somebody just because they send me a DM that says hire me. But the same thing goes for a brand. If I DM a brand and it's just like, "Yo, I can take good pictures, hire me," I feel like a brand would be turned off.
Oh yeah.
on
Well,
that.
I mean, I think it's individual for whoever's behind the brand dealing with the DMs. If I was there, I would be like, one, there's like an etiquette, like grow up and grow the fuck up and learn how to speak to someone.
Exactly.
And two,
It's like, just because it's a DM doesn't mean that it can't be professional.
right.
Right.
And there's also like, there's a certain way you can go about it. You can, I mean, you've worked with tons of brands. I don't know if you've DM'd them, but like you can offer them and be like, I can give you this, this, and this for this amount of money. And I'm sure the brand will check you out. Like I would always go look at everyone and see, even if they're small, I would go look at their content and see what they have to offer. Like for most brands that I've worked with, we check every DM. It's time consuming.
But you get back to the
They
ones
have
that.
Where we get, if you're not getting a response, it's because that was a no.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Most brands now have somebody specifically just to check DMs.
Yeah,
just
because
to
there's a
run
lot,
them.
and then they'll push it forward to whoever if they need to.
Yeah.
But
I've always found that it's when I reach out to brands that I want to work with, I found that the best way to approach it is as a supporter, not as somebody that wants to get hired.
No.
like I'll let them know, like, hey, I loved this flavor of food that you guys put out.
Orange chicken.
Shout
out
I love
Orange Chicken.
Shout out Orange Chicken. Panda Express,
Panda
baby.
Express.
Just talk about Panda every single episode. But it's like letting them know that I am a fan first, and then if something comes of it, great. But that's how I've always looked at it. If I went into it and it was just like, here, this is my rate, this is what I'll do, hire me to take some photos. I just feel like as a brand, it doesn't matter if people say, oh, it's all business, it's not personal. It doesn't matter. There's always a personal aspect, because a person behind answering the DMs is a community manager, is a brand manager, whoever is answering it. It's a person, and they're going to take it personal.
Yeah.
Especially the small brands.
Yeah.
Because they have such a closer tie to the product.
You could be talking directly to the
You
owner.
could be
and
talking
don't even
directly
know.
to the owner. And if you don't come off as somebody that's genuine and actually likes the product, then they're not going to want to work with you.
Yeah.
They want real brand supporters, real brand advocates.
Authenticity.
Yeah.
Nobody, but I don't know if you would hire somebody that says, "Hey Evan, I'm a fan. Can I be your assistant?"
I mean, I'd be more. Put it this way, I'd be more.
Wait, Evan, you got to butter up Evan. Though. You do have to butter him up. John knows.
Johnny is shaking his head. Yes.
That's why Johnny nailed it first time that on set. He started bringing me water because I don't drink water.
No, he's right.
He brought me water,
Tequila.
and he was just like ask me simple questions, and he was just like, hey, "He's a good guy, man." And
So
once
Johnny
I'm
knows
hooked-
what's up.
Once I'm hooked, I'm
word
hooked.
of advice: Evan loves to get buttered up.
But also, for anyone watching, you cannot steal Johnny away from us. You're not allowed to.
But no, so I think coming off as a fan first, and then the job opportunity will come after that.
There's a bunch of DMs I've sent. I'm like, I love your product. I love your guys' clothing. I love your guys' jewelry.
Let's leave it at
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just love. And then like, are you open to collabing? Or,
Yep.
I want to point out, though, just because I've said previously that it's okay to take a lower rate or whatever, I'm not saying don't know your worth. Like, I 100% support people getting paid for their work. I would never I personally don't go to talent anymore at all for brands. I would just tell brands I'm not comfortable with it. Being like work for free, I don't do that anymore. I don't think that that's fair to the talent. However, if you are just getting into the space and you don't have a body of work to show yet, or like brands that you've worked with yet, that's your foot in the door.
That's
and
key.
that's how you get in. That's kind of what I mean by that.
That's totally okay. And I'll be the first one to say right now, I still do free work. I
Yeah,
still
for
do
sure.
it. Like yes, I have a following, and I've been doing this for a long time, but I still do it for the brands that I actually see a lot of potential with.
Yeah.
Or I just really like them. And I don't think that has anything to do with knowing worth or anything like that. But it's like what you said, building that body of work, building that portfolio that maybe you can lead to the next job, whatever it is, or get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. I think there's such a bad stereotype going around as like, know your worth, be paid. Brands should always pay you.
But be realistic about
But be
your worth.
realistic. Yeah, be realistic. Like if what I've talked about before is like White Claw. White Claw is a good example for me because I had never shot a soda can or a spritzer or anything in an aluminum can basically before. I shot other products, but not that. So instead of me going after White Claw, sending them the DM saying, hey, I really want to shoot for you. I shoot products. I'm this person. I want to do it. I didn't do that. What I did was I used a can of White Claw. I shot it myself. I posted it.
You showed them what you
I
can do.
showed them what it could do. And, for me, it went viral. So it got a lot of views. It got, I think, over 1 million views. And then I took that picture and those statistics and I sent it to them. And this is before I had any big following or anything like that. But I was showing them already, here, this is the photo I can take. These are the results we can get. Now let's work together.
Yeah.
And it worked. And so then I did a few different
And this is the
partnerships
thing,
with
like
them.
brands don't know what you can do if you don't show them.
Exactly.
So it's like if you're positioning yourself in one direction, but you're like, oh, like let's just say not as wholesome photos, but you want to get into home goods.
Wow. I can hear you so much better.
But you want to get into home goods, or you
Yep.
want to get more like you want to get into more mommy blogger type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you have to show these brands that you've already shot this type of
Yeah.
work before.
That's very important.
Or else they're not gonna they don't know what to go off of.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to the whole resume thing. And I've talked about this before. It's getting hired by a brand as a creator is no different than going into a job interview for accounting or anything else, because what you're doing in an interview is essentially showing, here, this is what I've done, this is my education, these are the things I've done to be prepared for this accounting job. And then they look at your resume and say, okay, great, yes or no, and then they hire you or they don't hire you.
Yeah.
Same thing with a brand. If you go to a brand that you're not prepared for, if you, let's say you're a lifestyle influencer and you're, you say you want to work with, I don't know, some type of fashion brand, but that isn't your style, demographic, and it just doesn't make sense. Why would they hire you?
If your followers are not going to engage with this out of the box brand, then it's it's wasted for them. Like if you're a fitness influencer wanting to promote a high fashion brand, this fitness influencer's followers don't give a shit about the fashion brand. They want to see fitness stuff.
Exactly.
So they're not going to hire you. As much as, even if you can produce the content, that demographic just doesn't translate.
It doesn't translate. And I think that's a really important point for anybody trying to get started, trying to build whatever they're doing, or even expand off of what they're doing. Say you are a fitness influencer and you want to kind of break into high fashion, start doing more high fashion stuff. Don't go after the brands immediately, even if you have 100,000 followers. Start it and then go after them.
Yeah, build that body of work.
Because I will also say it's not necessarily burning a bridge, but it's putting a bad taste in someone's mouth if you go too soon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you go after something that you're not ready for, or you're not there, or that person, and that brand notices you and they respond and say, oh, sorry, not right now. They've already put in their mind, this person doesn't fit us. So
they've already grouped you there.
They've already put you in that bucket.
And to get yourself into the other one, like to move over, is harder than if you had just waited.
Exactly.
It's a game. It is all a game.
Evan, when did you start getting into brand deals?
Probably 2020.
And what was do you remember what
my first brand deal? Actually, I think it was Nuno's yogurt.
Ooh.
Do you know Nuno's?
No, but
no. It was a Greek yogurt brand. It was TikTok.
Okay.
It was like my first actual influencer brand deal, and I think I was only at like 30 or 40,000 followers at that point. And they reached out over TikTok, and then we started talking, and I had no idea. I think it was a really small partnership.
Yeah.
But that was my first
But that was your first kind of foot into the door. It wasn't like a big brand deal, but it did start the reputation that you are able to carry this quality of work along with the deals.
Well, it was the product photography.
Yeah.
It does position you in a place of getting more used to brand deals.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that was another big learning curve, is how to deal with the brand deals that come your way, and they reach out, they ask for certain requests, they want to do whitelist promoting. There's a lot of different pieces that go into it, but I think it's first off proving that you can make the content that they want, for sure.
I also want to point out, and this may be a no-brainer for anyone in LA because people here are just used to this, but like anyone else outside of LA or not an influencer level, whatever, brands require stats now. They all base rates on conversions and your stats. So the rates are based on your numbers. They're not just bullshit numbers. So if you send out like, my rate is $2,000, you better be able to prove why it's $2,000 because they have a number of influencers that they've worked with that can get X amount of numbers for $2,000, and they're going to compare you to that. So
I'll say that's partly true. That's valid. But if your content
it depends on what game.
If your content is like elevated or in a much more alignment, and they can repurpose your content,
if you will sign over the rates, you can also charge to people have to pay to sign own your content, which I don't know if people know that. If a brand wants to use your content, they have to pay for their usage rights.
Yeah. So your usage rights could be anything from social digital web, if they want to do in store, if they want to do OOH, out of home, all those different types of usage stuff. I don't know. This is like a whole new thing that I've actually started getting into recently with all the brands that I work with, not on the influencer or social side, but more of just from the agency side. Those those are things that I never really thought about when I was just getting into this, because it was just like content's content. You just make the content and it's there and it
not the
exists.
same
and
anymore,
It's
yeah.
not
Yeah.
the same, and there are different usages for each piece of your content,
Yeah.
which is something that you should be familiarized with.
And then like you also have to know the category, right? Because if you're in fast fashion, they're most of the time those brands are going to want to allow, like they're going to want a lot of
deliverables.
every single month. Like let's just say they're going to want like 7 deliverables every single month for like
3 months usually. Is
Not
what I
that
work
much,
with.
though, like-
yeah, not much money.
yeah. Whereas maybe a home goods
Yeah.
brand,
It's usually the less cool brands that have the more money.
Yeah.
Like the fast fashion or the fashion
Like-
brands never have money. The lifestyle, like home goods,
like a Procter and Gamble, like a
like
Gillette or a
your
Crest, or
like your soaps and
Yeah.
your
Your
like
soaps.
furnitures and your like
I've never had any deals with any of these brands.
Well,
So you guys-
but that goes back to like if you were to showcase that stuff,
Yeah.
and you were in
I'm
front of
gonna
the
go
camera,
take a photo of a
I
Procter
can-
Gamble product
Yeah, yeah.
right now.
Legit.
legit. I
mouthwash
can
if you want
send I can
mouthwash.
send you the
trying to
Alyssa
say
brands
something?
right now.
I just had gum, bro.
that you can do stuff for. It really, I mean, it all depends on your demographic, but because you're in this weird realm of creating content, you don't necessarily fit in that box, so you can do whatever brand you want.
Yeah, but I think to that point, and you even said like I have mouthwash in the other room, right? So that actually is a great example of somebody being able to grab something that is right next to them. If they want to get started, let's say they want to get a Procter and Gamble, let's say they want to do anything like that, you have the product sitting around you.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
don't need to wait for the product. You don't need to go buy the product. You have it.
Yeah.
And that was something that I did when I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
starting out, is that just
Yeah.
use
You
stuff
know
around you.
What else are I usually have a lot of money, like tech brands, like app brands,
Yeah.
game brands. They can shell out tons of money, like
Yeah.
not game brands, but like app games.
Yep.
Or like Babbels, like any app like that always has a lot of influencer money.
Electronics, Philips Hue. We shot a Philips Hue.
Dude, I
Back
love
in the
that
day.
Philips Hue.
That
That
was
Philips Hue commercial still holds up. I think it was sweet.
Oh,
The I Love Lucy song going over
that
it
was-
with the.
But okay, that's a great example, right? Because that's where, yes, the brand is paying us, but we took that upon ourselves to go in and create that style of content,
Yeah.
right? And it was still like a 30-second short. It wasn't like, it had very much a feel of, oh, this could be
Oh, we
a
created.
series.
We
This
created a
could-
story.
And
for sure.
to take those opportunities and create whatever you want with it is how you grow and how you continue to keep building. And other brands see that, they take note of it, then they reach out.
Yep.
I don't know what came of that, but
As
I got
someone-
nothing. 'cause-
Friendship
Friendship. As someone
worth
who
more than money.
has worked like on the, I guess what I would, you're so annoying sometimes.
What were
I
you
think
saying?
you should sit in the
Jenny,
middle so
what
that
were
you can
yeah, you'll sit in the
separate
middle next time. What were you saying before you were
So
rudely
someone
interrupted?
has worked as like on more on the like the agent of the brands. You mean
You're an agent of brands, yeah. 007.
I don't
Where's the
remember
Nerf gun at?
Flashback.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Did you see that video I
Johnny
did with
should
Denise?
shoot one of us every time.
Johnny.
You forget what
I
we're
know.
saying.
Johnny, you
Jenny
can
forgot.
shoot. You can shoot
Jenny
one of us
forgot.
now.
She was the
Jen-
one that said,
hey, now's your time, Johnny. Now's your time. Take the just the lesser hurting one.
the lesser. I like how we have like 3 Nerf guns just sitting over there.
They're just stacked
Just
up.
like-
Can you just bring them over here, please? Oh my god.
Look at Jenny's.
This is my
This is Jenny's.
my baby.
Dude, what?
You don't get any. These are both mine.
Okay. Let's just.
You sounded like Tony Montana right there. Hey, okay. Yeah.
Here's a prime example of what I've noticed about
don't know why we
you
brought these in.
When when where did that go? When,
Sorry, what were you saying?
When I've noticed when you're gonna do one of your videos,
Yeah.
you'll do a prep post of where you got the product, like your Nerf gun.
Mm-hmm.
You showed a story of you getting it, and you tag Nerf, and then the content comes out like a week later.
Yep.
And so you've now tagged them multiple times.
Yep.
You're
showing
giving away
them,
secrets.
like the story, like sequence
She's on to me.
I don't know if this is
No, but a lot of the
no.
best
Is
creators,
this a conscious
what you're
thing that
saying.
you-
No.
Yeah.
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 So it's you're creating a storyline for something to follow, and I think it's a bigger piece of the content. So it's no longer just a one-off, right? You're not just saying, "Hey, here's a picture. Here's a candle. I'm gonna take a picture of it, and then that's it." It's no more. It doesn't exist.
Shout
anymore on
out
social.
Salt and Stone. That smells great, by the way.
There you go.
We actually use it every episode.
Thank
So.
you so much, because Chris's place stinks. But that way, it does carry. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You're creating a story. I get the Nerf gun. I'm like, hey, I got this. It's fun, and then you do the product shoot with it. It's the same thing. But with this one, I mean, I obviously did this one for free. Nerf didn't pay me
Right.
to do this, but it's just like one of those brands that I like.
Yeah.
I grew up with Nerf.
But
I wanted to do something.
maybe
I do that
Nerf
with
will
some other
see
brands.
it, or you can go to Nerf and be like, "Yo,
Yeah.
here's
They
your
haven't.
content."
They haven't seen it
Well.
yet.
They will. but like what I'll say is like when I started out, I would see a lot of the early bloggers do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like they would get the products before, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, they
Not
just
everything
post
has
about
to
it.
be paid.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
let's
yeah.
let's get that straight too. And I actually just got a DM from somebody saying, "How many posts do you do that are all paid?" And I wanted to write back and be
Well, majority.
90% of them aren't paid.
Yeah.
I don't do a ton of paid partnerships. I just like shooting
Content.
the brands I like.
But that's got you in the door with the brands that will pay. And
Yeah.
maybe those aren't the ones you post, but the content that you're putting out there is what's getting you hired for the other brands.
And I think that's a good takeaway for anybody that is trying to get into this business. And whether you are a lifestyle influencer or want to be a lifestyle influencer, a content creator, photographer, videographer, somebody who's a thought leader within their space or whatever, just put out there with the stuff that you like. And people will come, the brands
Isn't
will
that
come.
what you always talk about, though? You built your kind of career around your lifestyle, which is
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
things that you like, right?
Yeah.
And nobody knows until you make it. Like
Yeah.
you can't just be like, oh, I fit in this category, but then like
Yeah.
Don't fit. You got to show it.
it's just
Yeah,
like,
sure.
but like auditioning at the same time, like, yeah, you guys make fun of me for not going into any interviews and whatnot. But I have like thousands of auditions, which are micro interviews.
That's
Yeah.
true.
where I have
Could
to
we
show
get a
up-
clip of one of your
Do you
tape?
have
You
any?
Yeah, I
definitely
probably
do.
do. Yeah,
What was one of your favorite auditions?
I don't know.
Any last thoughts that we have on people that are getting hired, whether it's trying to get brand deals, trying to work at a actual brand? Any final thoughts?
I would say, number one, don't be afraid to just put yourself out there and do work for free if you're just trying to get in the door. And then eventually, like, move into the rates, know your worth, but be realistic. There's been times where I've worked with influencers. It's standard to up your rates every month if you're working consistently with a brand. But if your stats are going down consistently and you're still upping your rates, like, we're gonna cut the relationship. So
Yeah.
you have to be realistic about what
realistic,
you're
yeah.
able to offer. If you're getting less views,
Yeah.
we're not going to keep paying you more.
Totally. All right.
And on the creator side, I would say also know your worth depending on what situation you're in, right? Like if you're wanting to take anything and everything because you need the money, like by all means go do that. But if you also want to set a standard for yourself and say like I'm not taking anything under X amount or whatever, and like not
Not only-
wavering from that.
Yeah.
Not only
like,
that, it's the brands that you're deciding to work with,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because
Be
you're building
picky.
your own.
Be
but
picky.
they're also seeing that and they're like, oh, this person only works with these brands or these
Yeah.
elevated brands that are also paying.
That's a
which
good
is,
point, which we didn't talk about, though, is being picky about the brands that you
Yeah, for
are
sure.
working with. Because if you're working with any and every brand, like, we notice that.
Mm-hmm.
If you are selective and work with brands that are building this persona and building your demographic and stuff, that's also noticeable to the brand. So they're going to go after the ones that are a little more selective, because if you're saturated and doing every other post, like, their content's going to get lost.
Yeah. Well, and then it also isn't genuine to who you are. Because like, let's be real, you can't be that big of a fan of every
Yeah.
single paid partnership that comes your way, especially if you're taking every single one. So being specific to it will build that niche, and so you'll get those jobs that are higher paying and are actually closer to your demographic.
And one thing I will say is that you could be within the same campaign, have the same stats, and get paid a different rate, completely different rate, just based off of you understanding your negotiation skills
Right.
or your management, being able
Understanding that.
to understand that and
Can
do.
you explain that a little more? Because, well, I know, but like there's different things you can get paid for, right? There's the content that you are producing, the posts that you're producing, usage rights, like all those
Yeah,
levels,
like so
right?
for deliverables, how many deliverables, how much the usage, like how long you're going to be under contract for. If you're attending in person or not in person, like you can still get paid for those certain things. Like, I mean, if they're going to whitelist it, if they're going to repurpose it, like,
All of those things you
You
can
know?
charge for.
but like what I will say is like based off of all those, there's somebody that could have like, I don't know, 100,000 followers, right? And get paid two completely different rates
Within the same deal.
within the
right?
same exact deal. And that comes down to knowing what you're worth and knowing what those deliverables
Yeah.
are.
I would say the key point for that is like getting paid to post is one thing, getting paid to produce content is another thing that you're going to just hand over for the brand to use. Those are two separate things that you can charge two separate rates for. You can also bundle it, but like
Yep.
that would be an example of what you're talking about, I think, right?
I would just say if like
He's like, no.
person A and
Just
person
think about the waves that
person
are coming
person
in
A
right
and
now.
person B is in the same category with the same numbers and metrics. Person A has way not like better metrics than person
Oh.
B, but person B gets paid much higher. What? Are you,
I'm drawing a
I'm
graph
trying
in my head. Yeah, just
Math
like-
is hard.
all right, so
A,
B, okay. A has higher metrics, okay.
Uh-huh.
B has lower metrics, so we're doing this.
Yeah, uh-huh.
But A
Uh-huh.
gets paid way less than person B.
Oh shit.
Yeah, why though?
Because they just understand their value, and then they have
Oh,
somebody
because
there
A didn't ask
negotiating.
for what
They didn't
they
ask
were
for
worth,
it.
right?
But
Yeah, they
what
asked for
about
what they were
C?
Well, C's not even in the game
She's
yet.
not even.
Oh, C didn't didn't get invited. All right, I'll see myself out.
Oh fuck, dude! I just want to.
Just saying.
I'm dead.
She's not even in the realm of possibilities at this point.
No, just A and B.
Yeah.
Okay,
That makes sense.
Good to
that
know.
makes sense.
All right, guys. So that was a fantastic podcast. I'm so happy that we were able to talk about getting hired, getting started with brands. Please let us know in the comments if you have questions, if you want advice, if you have any tips, if
tricks.
you have things that you've done that have got you hired. Doesn't matter if it's on a content creator side, if it's on the brand side, if it's as an influencer, whatever it is, we want to hear it. Let's start the conversation. My name is Evan. This is,
Chris.
Jenny.
and we are the Decent Human Podcast. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Oh.